Good evening, everyone. I hope that all is well with you this evening. I just decided that I would stop by because I wanted to have a little short discussion with you, and I wanted to share, connect my whole concept in my mind concerning media, dyslexia, interviews, how to be able to navigate, circumvent, and be successful, and how to take some of the challenges that you might have experienced in life and turn them around so that you would be able to be successful during the interview. Now, the interview that I'm going to be making reference to at this time is definitely a different era because we're talking about more or less under the Industrial Revolution, the Information Revolution, but it is not the Fourth Revolution and the Digital Revolution or the AI Revolution. There's a lot of revolutions going on. But anyway, I wanted to just address something because a lot of times people don't take this into consideration. And I'm speaking from a position of I know that area, I know that industry because I was in that industry in one capacity or another. Okay. So I had women that I was working with on non traditional jobs, and I was the job developer. And that also included resumes and how to handle an interview and blah, 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 blah. Now, the problem with all of that was some of them had reading levels third grade, fourth grade, math levels third grade. Ages might have been anywhere between 45 and 50. Okay. Now, because of this particular special program, and this was in California at that time, because of this particular special program, these women were being trained on non traditional positions, like, for an example, mechanics, which I thought was really cool. And then I realized that I had to go down to the locations and represent them because of the fact that they were being harassed by their colleagues, their worker bee friends, and the people they worked with. And these gentlemen did not like the idea that these women, and I mean, it went across the scale. We did not have any one group of people. We had an assortment. It was definitely um, a mixture, equally balanced, of women and ethnicities. And sometimes the conversations went easily, and sometimes they did not. But the women who weren't ready, they folded. But those who had the chutzpah, they were able to just keep going. And I hope I said that correctly. I don't know. But anyway, my reason for mentioning that to you is because my thought was then as it is now, which is what happened to you when you were 3 years old? What happened to you when you were 4 years old, five, six? Because this is early childhood education and the early childhood development. And everybody is going to experience something within that 0 to 9 age bracket. And the reason why I keep focusing on that with people is because that is the foundation of who you are going to become if somebody else doesn't come in, intervene, and provide you with some tools and encouragement and things like that for you to go forward with some type of passion and belief in yourself. And if you have no one supporting you at your house or at the school, you might have somewhat of a challenge until you meet that special person who has been sent by divine intervention to come down and assist you during this particular journey that you're traveling through. Now, if that's the kind of spiritual contract that you have with the universe, that is pretty cool. But not everybody has it, or not everybody can identify that that's what they have when that person shows up. Okay? When that person shows up. But in the meantime, the reason why this has also become a platform that I decided to speak on is because AI, the robots, everybody, this whole new system is being introduced to kindergarten. I'm 4 or 5 year olds, pliable, know nothing, basically, sponges, looking for love in all the right and wrong places. And then they're going to be speaking with robots who are trying to learn the human way and and probably influencing those baby humans to understand who they are. And I don't know what the whole process is. I just used to watch a lot of Star Trek and Star Wars and those kinds of sci-fi movies and read sci-fi books. So so I have a different kind of slant on certain things, but I'm just saying to you that I don't know if all the robots are going to be what's his name? It's a data. Yeah, I don't know if everybody's going to be like that, where they just want to be a human and they're going to be very altruistic towards the humans. Now, that might sound like a far fetched thought to you, but it's not to me, only because of the speed in which we're traveling at right now. So let's go back to my original thought. You, who can hear my voice, in your early ages, 0, nah, 3, 4, 5, what do you remember about your life? Did you have any kind of memory whatsoever? There are those that do and those that don't. I'm hoping that you have some type of memory because we need to be able to find out where's the weakness. Because when you sit down in an interview, let's say you're going for a job and it's only $45,000 a year, there's certain criteria for each one of these various levels that whoever's interviewing you, they're going to put you through a battery of interviews, tests, blah, blah, blah. Some people will be able to just fly right through it, not a problem at all. And you know where they'll crash? Towards the end of the interview. And that's not because they didn't know, they were overconfident. And there was another thing too. Don't exaggerate. If you worked on a job for a certain period of time, that's cool. But I met a guy once and he told me if he works on a particular job for one day, he's going to put it on his resume. But I never bothered to ask him because I didn't want to know how many years is he saying that he worked on that job for that one day. But that's the skill sets that he has in that particular area. Now, I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just saying to you, I don't think fake it till you make it is really the way to go, especially not right now, because things are going to get very, very tight and things are going to become very, very transparent in a sense. Because do you remember a movie called Minority Report? Minority Report was with Tom Cruise, and they could look in his eyes and tell what his thoughts were, whether or not he was going to do something negative to this person in the future, blah 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 blah. Well, that exists now in our time. During this particular time period, that is in existence. So I just wanted you to know that when you're sitting there in front of this particular recruiter, headhunter, interviewer, you're going to have to be able to stay focused enough. And when I say focus, I mean why you are sitting there. Do you want that job? Well, then what are you going to do to get the job? And I don't mean sell your soul. What are you going to do to get the job? Are you going to know everything that job, that company, the pluses and the minuses of that company, whether or not you really want to work there, what the salary ranges are for the position that you are applying for, those kinds of things. Do you have an idea about all of that? If you don't have an idea about that, then what's going to happen is it's all going to fall apart. It's all going to fall apart. So, what I'd like for you to be able to do is just think about what I'm saying, and I'm not going to belabor this. I'm only going to speak for about another couple of minutes and then I'm going to leave you. But I have an assignment for you. What I'd like you to do is to really write down what happened to you in the kindergarten, what happened to you in the first grade, second grade, third grade, especially the third grade and the fourth grade, and then the sixth grade, and then the seventh grade. What happened in those grades? And then we'll do the 12th grade. So I'm very fortunate in the sense that I came through a family line that was very, very diligent about education, the arts. They were Renaissance people. All right. And I'm very glad that that was something that I had as my introduction to life. I felt a little upset about the fact that I went to a private school where the nuns did not appreciate the fact that I was in their class. So they would put me in a box and let me sit in the corner. I'm not even in the corner, in the closet, close the closet door. But before they did that, they put the lid on the box and throw maybe a coat on top of the box. So it looks like it was an empty box, but I would be sitting in there until whatever time. I just had the morning shift, so that might have been from about 9 o'clock to 12. And then I was gone because my mother would come to pick us up. But you know what they did? They said to me, "You better not tell your mother anything because when she brings you, I'm going to deny it." And I'm just looking at her and I'm saying to myself, these are Roman Catholic nuns? These are Roman Catholic sisters? Anyway, and they said, and I'm going to deny it. Oh, I'm going to tell your mother I would never do such a thing like that. And she's going to believe me. And I thought about that. And I said, maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know if I want to risk that because let's say she does believe that she did do something like that, and my mother's on my side, then that means that I'm going to Nova Scotia because she's going to leave me there to be with those nuns. And those nuns are going to put me in a box and take me away. That was the thinking of a 4-year-old, 5-year-old. Interesting life. So, what did I learn? I learned how to keep secrets. I also learned how to analyze people. I could evaluate a person pretty fast. Now, did I know that's what I was doing? Not necessarily. But I knew whether or not I liked them or I didn't like them. I knew that right away. And I really feel that part of that education was coming from the fact of being exposed to those nuns from kindergarten to the 12th grade when I graduated from high school. So I say to you, when you sit down in front of that person, their job is to knock you out of the box. That interviewer is going to knock you out of the box, especially if they have somebody else that they want to put in that position. And they just have to open up that particular position to the general public to make it look like it's a fair game. All right. So, what you need to be able to do is find out where is your weak link? What is it? Can you stand up in front of a person when they're shooting you down with arrows? Here's another one. Have you ever been sexually abused, male or female? If you have been, let's say between the ages of 16 and 17, okay, or 12 and 13. 12 is a big number, just like 3 is. So if you've been sexually abused, do you know that in a job interview, they can ask you a question and it can trigger that and they'll see it. They'll see it. You have to be able to camouflage that. You have to leave that person outside, whoever that person is that has all those emotions. And then you have to sit there and go toe to toe because you're going after this particular position. Now, if you think that you'll become an entrepreneur and you won't have to deal with that, I'd like you to know that you're going to be dealing with customers. And if the customer happens to be somebody on the wealthy level, like maybe 9% of the 10%, then guess what happens? You're going to be dealing with that type of individual, and that individual is the one that's going to have the same type of insight. The same type of insight. Well, anyway, I just want you to think about that. Get yourself a pencil and pad and make sure that you join me again in a couple of days. I'm going to have another segment up, and it'll be a little bit different. But the reason why I'm going this particular route right now is because of these young people who are going to be sitting in a class and their mother and father are going to be somewhere else working or maybe in the next room, but they're not going to pick them up until high noon or maybe not until 6 o'clock in the evening because of their job scheduling. These kids are going to need to feel emotion. They're going to need to feel the love from the parents. And if the parents are stressed out, they're not going to feel like they can deliver the love. But it's going to be mandatory. It's going to be mandatory because we're playing in a whole new playing field. What are you going to do? All I want to do is just present it to you and say to you, let's have options. What can you do? One of the things I like to provide an answer to that. And it's going to require your time. So anyway, I all normally I would say, well, did you have your cup of coffee? Did you have your tea? Are you ready to go to do this? We know we're sitting in Ivy's Bistro in New York and blah, 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 blah. But today I decided because I was listening to the cars running up and down my street outside. I couldn't believe how noisy these guys were breaking the sound barrier. I said, let me get in here real quick and do this and then step back out. So thank you for being so patient. I have a blog, and it's a WordPress blog. I'll have a link in the description. And the full version of this conversation is actually written out, and it's on that blog. You take good care of yourself and remember to create the reality that you truly do desire, not one that you don't. Your homework assignment, by the way, is to write down what happened to you between the ages of 3 and 5. Nothing grand. Something, well, that's what you need to work on because you have two things going on. That's also during the period in which you find out what is it that you like to do. And that's going to be your true career, not all the other careers that you might develop, but that'll be your real gift. And you want to bring that forward. Okay? So, anyway, we talk about that later. In the meantime, it's been an honor, a pleasure being with you this evening. My name is NJ Evans, and this is the evening drive home. Remember to create the reality that you truly do desire, not one that you don't. Have a great one. Ciao.